Hey everyone, well welcome back. Today we are farewelling the house for a 2-week adventure. We're going road tripping. We finished our 11 weeks of camp and we're looking forward to some rest and recovery. We're going to Washington DC this morning, which is a very big city. We're looking forward to our kids being wowed by how big and cool everything is there. And then we're heading to the beach. We've been living in this house for 3.5 months now with our friends the Parkers. It's been so good. It's a little bit sad to be hopping in the car and driving off and knowing that next time we're here we will be like saying goodbye for good. It's going to be pretty sad. These guys have been so good to us and it's going to be hard to say goodbye, but until for now, let's hop in the car and get this road trip started. Hey, so if you're new here, we are the Leopards from New Zealand, and in New Zealand we just don't have big cities like Washington DC. We only have 5 million people in our whole country, so we don't have interstates and massive roading infrastructure. So our impression of these big cities is based on what we see in the movies. But we are on our way from North Carolina to Washington DC, and we are so impressed with what we see on the way, especially at spaghetti junctions like this. Our dreams on the horizon, our fears leave them behind us. Well, fuel has definitely got a lot cheaper and it's half the price that it is in New Zealand. $45 to fill the tank. It's probably about 70 New Zealand. So the drive into DC varies on the traffic situation. We were hoping heading in on a Sunday was going to equal less traffic, and it was pretty good. A little stop off to get some groceries close to DC, and boom, there we were in the place of the movies. Man, this is crazy. Literally just saw another car going up the wrong side of the road on a one-way street. I was like, is that us? Are we in the wrong? Alright, we have made it after going to the other Hyatt place, hotel first. We've finally arrived to the right one. Oh, and I can see a squirrel. We don't have our luggage yet, but we're going to go check out our room first. We were pretty impressed with this room, and it was really cool to see that it had a cool view of the interstate. Not something that would normally excite us, but when you're in this big city, it is very cool. And we could also see the pool.
The pool?
Should we jump from here?
Yeah.
We ended up heading to the pool later on that evening because it was just so busy. But how cool is the sunset? Alright, we've had our breakfast. We are heading out on day one exploring DC. We're going to head straight to the Washington Monument where we are going up the elevator 550 feet. Let's go! Cool, well, we are here at the National Mall. Monument's just down there, and the Capitol building just down there. Pretty cool. So we booked some tickets to go up the Washington Monument online. It costs $1, but you can just turn up on the day and hopefully they have some space left, and it costs you nothing. There is a pretty strict security process to get up there. You kind of go through the metal detectors and then you all cram on this elevator and go 550 feet up to where you're going to get some pretty cool views. But you do have to take turns with everybody else that's up there having a look too. It is definitely a very cool view looking at all of these windows though. So you're allowed to stay up here for as long as you want, but then you just go down a couple of flights of stairs and take the elevator back down. And when we got out, there were some helicopters that were on their way to the White House, which was pretty cool to see. Who knows, maybe they were even making a movie. From here we just followed the pathway that took us to the World War II Memorial, where Toby, of course, has to get himself into some trouble. At least you are allowed to get your feet in, although Toby would have gladly got right in. Well, there is definitely a lot to do and see in the city. Toby, I don't think he realises where he is. He just does whatever he wants, you know, he just jumps in the water and the sprinklers. Oh my goodness, this child. Don't even think about going on that mud. I think Toby definitely was thinking about hopping in that mud. But the Martin Luther King monument was really well thought out. with two big rocks and a slab coming up from the middle with his image, and the rock read, "Out of the mountain of despair is a stone of hope." This is the Vietnam War Memorial with the names of all the American soldiers who died in this war. Crazy. So those names, they start over there and they go all the way around. This is a pretty big reminder of how destructive war is. It's just so much loss, around 40,000 names here. And even New Zealand was represented in that as well. So that was actually the Korean War monument, not the Vietnam. I always thought it was the Vietnam from the other time I've been here. The Korean War, 1950 to 1953. I just love the Washington Monument reflection pool and the Abraham Lincoln Monument because it just reminds me of one of my favorite movies, Forrest Gump. Any other Forrest Gump fans out there? And there he is, good old Abraham Lincoln, and Jade's going to tell us a little bit about why he's famous soon, but first she's got to read all of the plaques. Right, Jade, what do you think?
I'm reading.
Time for a snack. I think everyone's getting a bit hungry. It's 11:47 and it feels like about 35 degrees, I think, is the field temperature.
Yeah, I'm hot. But
Whoa, that's a crazy bug. What is that? Everyone's so sweating.
Only because I'm carrying everything.
Abraham Lincoln was the president and he got rid of slavery and united the country after war. Okay.
Riley, what I want you to do for the GoPro is I want you to run through that pond over there yelling out, "Forest!
No!
Forest!" So many cool things to see in this city. It's really easy to fill a day up. The kids are definitely getting over being photographed and videoed. It kind of reminds me of taking, or when they're a part of like a bridal party at a wedding and they just can't handle it anymore. Hey kids.
You take so many pictures of us
Perfect. Oh, sad now we're in the middle of this vlog. If you're enjoying our videos, we are trying to grow this channel. We're heading home soon to New Zealand for full-time travel. So jump on board our adventure. We'd love to have you. Can't get enough of videoing the Washington Monument on our way to the White House. Well, here is the White House. I guess after the last few years' antics, this is as close as you get now. I think it was really the heat that was making everyone struggle.
It's hard, Dobie. I know it's hard.
We decided to walk to a McDonald's to get a cold drink and we saw this ginormous building. How big is that? And I think this really helped everyone. Is that what it is? The National History Museum? Where are we going to? The National Museum of Natural History is where we're headed next. Go show Toby some dinosaurs.
They're not real though. They're just fossils.
So as soon as you walk into this museum, there are all kinds of super interesting things to see. No matter which way you look, there is something cool that you probably haven't seen before. And what is really cool is that these Smithsonian museums, they're free to get into. So as a family, it makes traveling here a lot more affordable, that you can do all of these things and it doesn't cost anything.
The T-Rex!
I feel like movies always make these dinosaurs out to be bigger than they are.
Stegosaurus theropod.
Huh?
Stegosaurus theropod.
Oh, tell me, Toast.
There's literally a whale out there.
We found the Finding Nemo tank.
Dory, Nemo. Well, there's like a lot of Nemos. There's Nemo. Those are his babies. That's a big fish.
Good to see that it's got New Zealand on here. And good to see New Zealand made it in here for our earthquakes of all things. Well, I think we've had a guts full of walking around and exploring, so we're going to go back to the hotel, have a beer, and go down to the pool and have a swim.
Amen.
Alright, we might see you at the pool.
Oh, we're going for a late night swim.
So we went to the pool when we got back this afternoon, but it was so busy. There was like 30 people down there. So we didn't want to video anyone on the GoPro, so we're going down now. It's after 9. The pool's open for another hour, and we're going to have it to ourselves. So we can do some bombs. Go. The main reasons we picked this hotel was it was affordable for DC, like $850 total for 4 nights for the 5 of us. We could walk to most places from the hotel. They had a swimming pool and breakfast was included, and it was a good breakfast. The same thing every morning, but fresh fruit, eggs, potatoes, sausages, porridge, cereals, bagels, fruit juices. So we loaded up each morning before we headed off, and we grabbed a fruit to take with us. So day 2 we were headed off in the other direction from yesterday, heading towards the Capitol building, but we stumbled across the Museum of the History of the American Indians, which we decided to take a bit of a stroll through. It was surprisingly quiet and not a whole lot on display in there, but a few interesting things. Then we carried on our way and we headed through the botanical gardens, and Toby needed to use the bathroom, and we discovered this whole indoor garden, which had different climates set up inside. Some were creating tropical environments with plants from the Amazon rainforest. We went through a section that was like the desert and dry, although I didn't think the temperatures were that much different from outside anyway, until we went through the temperate rainforest, where we found some New Zealand panga. They don't have anything like the New Zealand panga out here in the east. Not sure about the other side of the country out west, but what a cool spot and a bit of a gem to discover on our way to the Capitol building. Blim and Toby go into the endangered, dying species of plants. He hits one of them with a stick. Bloody cactus. Goodness. Well, I don't think we planned on going to the botanical gardens, but it was cool.
This is the Capitol building. I mean, up there.
I expected it to be so busy here, but it's actually quiet. I remember sitting there for a photo like 18 years ago. The cool thing about this whole National Mall area is you have the Capitol building, and behind you is all the grass all the way down to the Washington Monument and all the way to Abraham Lincoln. You can see right in the distance there. Jay totally just photo bombed me inside. Have a look at this photo.
So we had a discussion about which art gallery we're going to, and Mike's like, not one when they've just thrown paint on the artwork. First gallery that we go into.
I'm like, this is the work of Toby. This is not art.
Controversial, Michael, controversial.
Yeah, sorry if it's your kind of thing. It's just amazing, isn't it? It's amazing.
It's like those ceilings that you have.
I just look at it and I wonder, how did they do that? Jade, do you think you could paint that? Huh? So maybe I'm just an old grumpy man, or maybe I just don't understand modern art. But we did jump across the road to another art museum, which has some super grumpy stuff in it. You'll hear about that in just a second. But it had some more traditional art in it, although I'm pretty sure the kids were worn out from their day and they were not really appreciating this art either. So they had the weirdest rules in there. One of them, you can have a photo or GoPro, but no selfie stick. Second rule is you're allowed to bring your bag in, but you have to only be allowed to carry it on one shoulder. So I think I have my selfie stick back.
You can take your water bottle back.
Anyone got any suggestions of why you have to carry a bag on one shoulder? Let us know, because we still can't figure it out. Oh,
I do, because I googled it.
Yeah?
If you got it on your back, you're not aware of what you're doing. If you got it on your side, you're more less likely to knock over art or scratch out or whatever.
Man,
It's not comfortable.
they let
though.
kids in there. They let kids in the museum, so come on. Alright, today we are going to ride the subway for the first time. Costs about $2 a person to ride, but we're heading to the zoo, too far to walk. A few people that we've talked to are surprised how much walking we've made our kids doing. But the zoo is free, so that is great. Are you guys excited about going to the zoo?
Yeah.
What do you want to see, Riley?
Bear, flamingo, giant panda, polar bear, snakes, everything.
Typical, we get to the station, but it's closed. This one's not available. I'm letting Sophie do the brainstorming on this one. She's better at this than me. And of course they get you with, you have to buy a card each, which is another $2. It's always annoying when you get caught out with those hidden costs, but riding the subway was an activity on its own and a really fun one. And we met this really helpful guy that pointed us in the right direction.
Get that train line, 2 stops. Yeah. And you want the red line and Shady Grove. Like I said, get off at Cleveland Park. Because the zoo sit in between. You want the map? Yeah. Okay, you got plenty of maps. No problem.
What do you think, kids?
I'm so excited.
Riding the subway is definitely the best way to get around the city. Just paying for parking is like $11 an hour. We paid to put our car in a car park that was going to be there for 5 days, so it was a lot cheaper to do that. But subway, man, is such a good invention. Right now we're changing train to head to the zoo.
So where are we?
Go, kids.
Last opportunity to transfer within the system. This time to your blue, orange, or silver.
Well, people were pretty friendly. Someone got off his seat so we could sit down. Oh, nice Americans. So after riding subway for the first time for the kids anyway, we then got to ride like the highest escalator I've ever seen. And from here, it's about an 800-meter walk to the zoo.
Take a breath.
I've kept this time at the zoo pretty short because watching zoo animals is not so exciting online. So enjoy what we got to enjoy.
Take a step. Arms out wide into the sunlight. Do you see what I see? There's a glow all around. I can feel it in the air. It's like magic.
Nervous when the birds come to you, you can just drop your hands and apply to the next victim. I mean the next volunteer.
This whole big world is ours. Wander near and far. Oh, this whole big world is ours.
We were really impressed with the zoo. There was so many cool things to see, and we especially loved the area dedicated to the Amazon. That was really cool. But then we rode the subway back to the city where we were greeted by the most friendliest squirrel, which was really cool.
Frozen in time, little pieces of light.
I remember having my photo with this statue 18 years ago. It's so cool, look at that.
That's in between.
Hello, little friendly Washington squirrel. And if you didn't know, no, New Zealand does not have squirrels. We think these little guys are so cool.
There's a song all around us. I can hear it in the air. It's like magic.
The only friendly squirrel we've found, and it was super friendly.
Our trip to the USA is now complete.
Yeah, we can now go home knowing we accomplished all things.
Knowing that we probably did the forbidden by feeding wild animals in the city.
So on our last night in Washington, we got to catch up with the counsellor we worked with in 2009, Lee. Lee lives in Washington and she wanted to take us down to the waterfront and show us around because this area is newly developed. And she also brought us some really good ice cream, which was pretty expensive. Thank you so much, Lee, and it was great to see you. Alright team, thanks for getting to the end of this video. Just one more place to show you the Great Falls National Park. This waterfall is only like 20 minutes out of the city, which is pretty impressive. Next video I promise will not be this long if it was too long for you. But see you on the next episode.